Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works, and it is part 5 of building the Arrested Development stair car, and we're not in the clutter zone, we're in the clutter kitchen. Don't judge me. So, we're at my laptop, which has cleared away a small space on my kitchen table here, and I've got some shots that I want to show you of various stair cars. So, if I go here, and then I go there. Okay, so this shot here is a still from the show, and I know I've shown it before. And we're now no longer really concerned with the cab so much as we are the actual body of the stair car. And in this shot right here, there's a thing here, it says Victory something or other, but that's basically the manufacturer of the stair car. And I did a little research online, and I found a few more pictures of stair cars. Now this picture here is important in that it shows that the bodywork on the side here actually gets quite a bit thicker, almost twice as thick for the bottom, I don't know, 40% of the body here. And as well, it shows there's two actual staircase parts, as we've known all along. There's an inner one that's basically the bottom segment, and then you can see the sides here of the upper one, which actually slides along the outside. So, and as well as that, you may have already noticed, this is the only stair car used in the series that has this box on the side of it. The next picture here gives us some important details at the bottom. You can see that that inner piece here, the lower segment, it actually comes down about 6 inches lower than the rest of the bodywork. And the bottom stair, it actually is on some hinges. They're pinned right here, and that whole piece can flip up out of the way. And obviously, you'd want to do something like that to increase the ground clearance. Even in an airport where, you know, everything is pretty much dead flat, there's going to be times where you might have to go up or down over a curb or something like that. So that's why this shot is important, because it gives this detail down here. And you can also see where the taillights are going to have to be mounted. I do have a set of taillights like that in stock. As well, I've also got a mold to create more of those. So, and this picture here gives us some detail at the top of the stair car. Now here you can see there's some sort of a mechanism there, and you can also see that the upper steps are inset. So there's no mechanism that sort of brings them in line. Basically, when you bring it up, whatever step is at this point here ends up being a little bit deeper. I've included this picture here because it's close to the sort of stair car we're modeling, but it's not the same. Now this was a different manufacturer, and you can see the bodywork is a bit different, the fender here, and the mechanism underneath is more vertical than the ones we're doing. As well, the boarding platform is a little bit different shape. This one, at first, does not appear to match at all, because the bodywork only comes this high. But what we can see down here is virtually identical in shape. Now this one is a vertical stair car, or sorry, this one is a Victory stair car. And as we've seen in other shots from the inside of the cab, it has this elevating structure that comes up at an angle, and it's almost exactly the same as the one in the show. And if I can just get rid of some of this crap at the top of the screen, although this appears to be different than the one in the series, its overall shape is the same. It's just the upper third, instead of being sheet metal, is just got kind of a railing structure. This one here, once again, at first does not seem to be the same because it does not have the triangular body, but you can see if it continued up, it would be almost identical to the one in the show. And once again, there is our elevating mechanism, and you can also see that the piece under the platform is slightly triangular. It's a little narrower here than there. This one pretty much comes closest to the one in the series in that it has all the same features. It has the bodywork that goes all the way up full height. It has the elevating mechanism that is the same. And I should also mention that the support legs are almost identical to what's in the series as well. So even though all of these have been mounted on newer cabs, they're all made by the Victory company, and they all share the same features, especially this stuff underneath here. So I think we have some good pictures to work with, and we can finally get serious about the structure on the back. So now we're done getting the pictures and things that we need. What I've done is I've transferred them to my little Samsung light here, and I can just flick among the various pictures and stuff right here at my hobby bench. So you'll see this on a few times. Probably most of the time it'll be a blank screen because it's gone to sleep. But at least this is a little more handy than having to run upstairs and go to that computer or print it out using the color ink I do not have. So as I see it, most of the construction is going to be two basic sub-assemblies. The first one is mostly what you see right here. It's going to be the outer body, you know, the fenders, things like that. And this is something that I want to get completed fairly early and airbrushed and everything like that, because, you know, we need the blue with the curves, the red on there and everything like that. As I see it, the stairway portion, the elevating mass, so to speak, that is a separate sub-assembly, and I don't have to finish this one before starting work on the other one. I just have to design it in such a way that I can plug it in at a later date during the construction. And I think from the point of view of working on the staircase portion, it'll be easier than if it is slowly being built up in place. It's better if I can work on it separately and occasionally test fit it. So that's how I'm going to be proceeding, is treating them as two separate sub-assemblies that we obviously have to agree, but they can be worked on separately, and one won't be holding up the other. Like if this is being painted, it's not going to hold up work on the other part. On the subject of our bodywork sub-assembly, the main things that need to be achieved are the fenders, the box that's right here, and as I noted in the introduction, the bodywork has to be thicker here, and then for a chunk right here, and then there's a couple of gaps, and you can see the gaps right there, and then the thicker bodywork comes up to this point here, and then of course there's basically a long slot running along that the outer part of the staircase, it slides up and down. That's basically clearance for those railings. What I've done here is I've built up the bodywork by basically adding another layer of this thick styrene, and actually I have another intermediary thinner piece as well. And I've just put a little bit of Tamiya putty on here, and hopefully by the time I prime it and it's all painted and everything, it'll look like sheet metal. It's basically come up here and then bent around. The next thing to work on will be our fenders. Get those done. We've got fenders, and these are actually very simple in construction. A little bit more difficult in practice because I needed to put a bevel at the top here. And if you look inside, you can see that I didn't exactly follow my outline that I had cut out, mainly because at this point I was kind of aiming for symmetry, and I probably didn't achieve that exactly when I did my cutouts. Now these are going to require a little bit of sanding and filing and that sort of thing. And if you look at the back here, I've put some gray paint on my bodywork. And that's just to make sure that it's looking like it's all one piece of metal going around. I have a couple small flaws to fill, but overall the outer body work is coming along fairly well. As well, I've put a rounded edge up here because there is one on the car in the series as well. I've been doing a little bit of figuring with the Mark I eyeball, and mostly in order to find out the depth of the side pieces here. And from what I can tell, there seems to be just a little bit of space, basically from here to there, when the extension is up. So I just put my ruler down, following the line, as you can see here, and it basically comes out to that the sides should be pretty much the thickness of this ruler. That basically brings things out where they should be. So I'm going to cut 4 strips the width of this ruler. The inner bits are going to be a bit higher. The outer bits are going to be a bit lower, like that, because of course they telescope over each other. So that's a little bit of, geez, how am I going to figure that out? That I, just by looking at pictures and doing some estimating, I think I've come out with the dimension we need here. I've cut 4 strips of my heavy styrene, and 2 of them are going to be for the inner part, and 2 are going to be for the outer part of our staircase mechanism here. And it is handy having some material that's this thick, because otherwise I'd be laminating like crazy. So these are the inner staircase portions, in that this part does not telescope. It's actually the outer part that telescopes. So these basically are going to be glued on pretty much where they are right now. And you can see that there's a slot on either side where that outer piece is going to go. These are not ready to glue on yet. I've got a lot more parts I've got to fabricate. But it is nice to start roughing out parts and getting things to the point where I can see what I got to build next. I just realized I've been productive. Now there's a change. Without actually documenting anything, these are the external parts of our stair mechanism. And basically, this is one of the internal parts. And most of the stairs that people are using are going to go between the internal parts. And this part slides up the outside. Pretty much like this. So, what was needed was getting this bit together. And I'm not going to model every single stair on the telescoping area. I'm probably just going to do maybe 2 or 3, because you're probably not really going to be able to see that many of them. If I slide this together the way it's supposed to be, I mean, you can see that the cab comes this high, and you're only going to be able to see a few of them. So, but I do have to have a couple at the top, just to make sure that everything lines up at the top the way it works. One of the things I was not looking forward to in this project was making all of the stairs, because when I try to make a bunch of parts the same, it seems that I end up wandering a bit. And the other thing I was worried about was whether or not they were going to be square. So what I ended up doing was, I figured I was going to cut strips to the size I needed. One for the riser, one for the tread. And then, in order to make sure they were regular, what I'm doing is I'm using some evergreen styrene, only the, there we go, you can see there, right angle. And at first I thought, oh no, they're going to interfere with each other. But by dividing them into one long piece and 2 shorter pieces, I'm able to come up with something that seems to keep everything pretty regular. Now what I'm making right now is just going to be the upper segment of stairs that are on the outside piece that slides from in behind. So I don't have to make a ton of them, I do have to make a few of them. But this process does seem to be working not too bad. I've glued the 4 steps. Now I know there really should be quite a few more, but this is the part of the staircase that you're not going to be able to see because obviously it's the part that telescopes up, and I'm not going to be having this set very high. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking I'm probably going to have it set so that the inner staircase, the fixed part, maybe sits level with this tread right here. I think that's what I'm aiming for. So there really wasn't much point in making all of these steps. It was a little tricky, but I've managed to do the basic masking for the blue lower area here and the blue stripe. And we'll worry about masking for the red stripe when we get to that. And this is all going to be covered with masking tape. Basically what it comes down to is these strips, or these stripes. These stripes and the demarcation between the white and the blue are curved. And especially on the 78/79, all of the lines are curved. On the 69, the cheat line is curved, the blue stripe is curved, and the red line almost kind of more comes to a point. But on this particular version, they all have a bend to them. So what I did is I used, as many of you know, my least favorite modeling tool, my Olfa circle cutter, to cut some concentric circles in masking tape in order to make these curves. There's our basic paint schema on. You can see it on both sides. Now I've mentioned before that there's a box that's going to be mounted right here. I left it off. I haven't even really created it yet, but I mean I'm not going to worry about putting that on until much later because I just felt it would get in the way of doing the masking for the stripes. And I'm probably going to be hitting this area in here with just some flat white, because on the real vehicle everything inside here seems to be painted white. I've started working on the main staircase, but I've decided I'm going to put this particular episode up before finishing the staircase, because otherwise it'll probably be at least another week before you guys see the progress that's been made. It's one of these things where you just kind of have to say, oh, I think I'll do a couple treads of the stairs, and you do a couple, and then a few days later you do a few more. So this pretty much does it for this episode of Dan's Model Works. We've got quite a bit of hardware actually together. Next episode we're probably going to be working on a lot of the mechanism that goes underneath, and probably going to be doing a little bit more work on the cab to finish it off. I think there's probably going to be at least 2 more episodes. So anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, just keep on modeling, and what will follow is my weight update.